Hello, everyone. My name is Ani Pomo. I am the resident teacher. I'm a Buddhist nun. I'm the resident teacher of Songtsen Gampo, Buddhist Center of Cleveland. We are a kind of small center in Lakewood, which is a suburb of Cleveland. We have a physical place, but like so many others, we are not. Sorry, I'm just changing some settings here. We are not sitting there right now. We're doing everything online. So every Sunday, I'm here for guided meditation. Well, the first 3 Sundays of the month, I'm here for guided meditation here on YouTube. And the last Sunday of the month is when we have family meditation on Zoom. So for that, you have to register to get the link. So let's begin. All right. So today we are going to discuss the 3 vehicles of Buddhism. And in the description below, you can see 2 links. One is for the document that we'll be discussing today called the 3 vehicles. The other is for the closing prayers. So you want to open those now so that you can reference them during the talk. So before we begin, we always start with a bodhicitta motivation. So briefly, bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So the entire reason that we practice in this path is so that we can benefit others, really. Of course, we are included in that. We are also a sentient being, but we need that bodhicitta motivation really in order to attain enlightenment at all. We could do all these practices, but without bodhicitta, it doesn't mean very much. So when we think about the suffering of beings, the suffering of all beings, humans, animals, and beings in other realms, it's really heartbreaking, when we think about, for example, children who are abused or animals who are raised for slaughter. All of that, is very heartbreaking. And we can feel kind of powerless in that situation. But really, we're not powerless. We can, through attaining enlightenment, help to remove the cause of that suffering. So with that in mind, I invite you to really try to generate very strong bodhicitta. If that's not your cup of tea, at least please form the motivation that the time we spent together this morning benefits not only you, but others as well. So then I want to just take a moment to talk about our precious lamas. We're very, very fortunate to be directly connected with 3 lamas. Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche, who's a very great lama, Tuku Pema Wangyo Rinpoche, his brother, who is another really incredible master, and Taklumata Rinpoche. So the 3 of them really have a hand in being our spiritual guides and caring for us. And it's so important to feel a sense of respect and gratitude towards them, respect for their accomplishment, having a kind of humble attitude that they know more than we do, that we are not enlightened yet. And gratitude for everything they do for us, that they took and kept their bodhisattva vow to continue to return to cyclic existence in order to benefit all beings, including ourselves, that they provide an example of what an enlightened being looks like, acts like, and that they, can communicate with us directly and teach us and understand our minds so that they can guide us. Okay, so let's begin with the 3 vehicles. Okay, so I'm picking up my particular um, document here. All right, so if you look at this, oops, sorry, hang on one second. Okay, should have left it the way it was. So if you look at this document, you'll see along the top, there is the three vehicles, the Mahayana or Theravada. I'm sorry, the Hinayana or Theravada, the Mahayana, and the Vajrayana. So and then you'll see along the left column, it's also called the goal of these paths, motivation, practices, the countries in which they are practiced, and divisions. Okay, not like as in divisive, right? But just the different schools within that um, uh, um, school. Okay. So let's start with the so-called Hinayana. Oops, I have a typo there. It says Hinayaya. It shouldn't be Hinayaya. It should be Hinayana. So I'm just going to fix that right now before I forget. No, I won't fix it. Never mind. So Yana means vehicle. Okay, so you'll see that Mahayana, Vajrayana. So Yana means vehicle. Okay, so Hinayana means lower vehicle or small vehicle. So that's why, like, it's called that not because as a sort of derogatory term, but you'll see as we go down that column that the so-called Hinayana goal is really liberation for themselves. And that may sound selfish or uncompassionate, but it's really not. They are, it's a matter of philosophical difference. And when I first entered Buddhism, I spent several years in that particular school. So I know that is from their own perspective. That is that. But as some people do see it as kind of, derogatory to say lower vehicle or small vehicle. And if you think about small vehicle, like if you're just, you know, going yourself along the road, all you need is a bicycle or a motorcycle. Like you just need something for one person. So that's the meaning of small. But if you are trying to take all beings or trying to benefit all beings, then you need a larger vehicle. So that's really the only difference. But anyway, instead we call it Theravada. Okay, so Theravada means, as you see there, way of the elders. Okay, which is of course much more sounds anyway, much more respectful. Okay, and it's also called the foundational vehicle. And the reason for that is because without the Theravada school, the other schools can't exist in a sense, right? The other two vehicles have as their foundation the Theravada practices. Okay, so without that, you cannot have Mahayana and Vajrayana. So Dalai Lama and others call it the foundational vehicle. All right, so going down from that, something I already described, or no, the goal is to become an arahat. So that is the literal definition of arahat is foe destroyer. So the foe that they are destroying is craving, because they list that as the cause of all suffering. Okay. So as I said, beyond craving, and then they consider themselves a disciple of the Buddha. All right. Then going down, the motivation, as I said, self-liberation, and then the various practices. So there are a lot of practices for concentration, meditation, mindfulness, and of course, moral behavior and renunciation. So from the Theravada point of view, renunciation is exactly what we think from a Western point of view. Okay, so not having a lot of material goods, refraining from, drugs and sexual conduct, or just being very careful with your sexual conduct if you're not ordained. In that particular school, really, I don't know if this is part of their actual philosophy, but the general feeling one gets as a follower of that school is that you must be ordained in order to attain enlightenment. Okay. The other schools do not feel that way. Okay. So then if you go down from that, the countries that it's practiced are mainly Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, and I think a couple of other countries, and then the West. Okay, so all three of these schools are practiced in the West. And that makes it kind of nice for us in that, we have access to these three vehicles and we can choose which one we like the best instead of the only one that happens to be available in our country. So that's very good. On the other hand, it can be a little confusing, and we need to take time to really examine that, and see for ourselves, which one, if we're interested in following this path at all, which of course we're not obliged to do. But if we are interested, then we should look and see which one suits us. All right. Then, as far as divisions, there's just the Theravada. There used to be 18 different schools within this particular vehicle, but over time they sort of all merged into one. Okay. Now let's move over to the Mahayana. So the Mahayana is also called the Great Vehicle. Okay. And as Maha means great, and again, Yana means vehicle. So their goal is to attain Buddhahood, the same level as the Buddha. Okay. And their motivation is liberation of all sentient beings. So sentient means with consciousness. Okay. So any being with consciousness is a sentient being. All right. So that's humans, that's animals, and there are beings in 4 other realms that we consider, which I'm not going to discuss today. Okay. So it's called the Bodhisattva. So they have the Bodhisattva ideal, which I mentioned earlier, right? So you have Bodhicitta and you have Bodhisattva. So Bodhi means awakened or enlightened, and Chitta, as in Bodhicitta, means Chitta means the mind and heart together. So and Sattva means like being or person. Okay, so Bodhisattva is a person, all right, who has taken the Bodhisattva vow or the Bodhicitta vow, all right, and that vow is to attain enlightenment and return to cyclic existence in order to benefit all beings. Okay. So their practices are mainly like meditation and prayer. They have the of course the other practices in the Theravada path. You see their mindfulness, meditation, of course, moral behavior, but also like mantra recitation and visualization. So the countries that mainly practice Mahayana are China, Japan, Vietnam, and again, the West. Okay. So, okay. So then the divisions of that school, of that particular vehicle, are Zen, again, China, Vietnam, and the West. So Zen is an interesting word as far as the history of that word. So Zen is actually jnana, which is the Sanskrit word. And when it went to China, it was called Chan, which, I mean, Chan? Yes, Chan. because I don't know, the way people can or cannot pronounce a foreign word. So Jnana turned into Chan, and then it went from China to Japan. And in Japan, Chan became Zen. So that is the history of that word, Zen, which I find very interesting. The other division is the Pure Land School, which was mainly practiced in China and the West, and is practiced in the West. So China is a very kind of interesting and sad story. So China used to be, well, when Buddhism came to China, the main practice there was actually Confucianism. And so Pure Land, or the Chinese Buddhism, if you want, is a kind of, or began as a kind of amalgamation of Buddhism and Confucianism. Okay. And that went on for many centuries. And then when the communist takeover happened in China, they since then have been and continue to be very against any kind of religious practice, okay, including Christianity and any other religion that happens to be, like Islam also, okay. As regard to Tibet, I don't want to go too much into that, but if you don't know about that, I really recommend Googling it, Tibet and China, because, oh my goodness, it's just horrific. So the Chinese invaded Tibet in 1959. And since that time, so now they call Tibet part of China, which it is not and has never been. So they've really embarked on since 1959 and to this day, a systematic program or attempt at genocide and just total destruction of the Tibetan culture and religion. So they've destroyed monasteries all over Tibet. And when you say like destroy a monastery, it's not like a monastery in the West, okay, which would also be sad, saying that, that's no big deal. But it's like destroying every aspect of art and education in the country, okay? So monasteries were not just centers of practice, but also science, medicine, art, literature, all of those things. So when they destroy a monastery, they're destroying like all the museums, everything in having to do with the culture. They really have done very, very horrific things to the Tibetan people, murdering them, putting them in concentration camps, forced abortion, all kinds of really, really difficult things. And as I said, they continue with this process, and really nobody in the West is doing anything about it, unfortunately. So anyway, look into that if you want to learn more. It's a very unfortunate situation. Okay, so when I say like was practiced in China, there has to be, we really have to take whatever Buddhist practice exists there now with a big grain of salt, because it's hard to tell, what people are actually allowed to practice and then what is actually a genuine place. Because part of what they do, for example, they want to keep some of the monasteries, especially around Lhasa, because they bring in revenue from tourists. So they kick out the real monks and they put Chinese people in monks' clothing who are not ordained, and that's what they do. So you don't even know if who you're seeing in the monastery is actually Tibetan or Chinese. And for most Westerners, it can be a little bit hard to distinguish between what a Tibetan looks like and what a Chinese person looks like. So it's important to know that if you ever go there. All right. So now we move on to the Vajrayana. All right. So Yana, again, is vehicle, and Vajra means like indestructible or diamond, okay, in the way that a diamond can, sort of scratch anything. Okay, it's very hard to destroy. It also is this particular implement. I'm going to hold it, closer to the camera so you can see what that looks like. Okay. And this represents the Vajra, or is a Vajra. In Tibetan, it's called Dorje. Okay. And this, well, I won't go into that, but anyway, that's what that is. Okay. So, diamond vehicle, or indestructible vehicle. So it's also called Tibetan Buddhism. Actually, I think is the most common phrase. Is really kind of problematic because it's called Tibetan Buddhism because it was mainly practiced in Tibet. But in a way, it doesn't have anything to do with Tibet. It's a Buddhist practice working with the mind. So it can be practiced anywhere, and you don't have to be Tibetan or know the Tibetan language or anything like that, or be part of Tibetan culture in order to practice this. So, but we keep it, and I often refer to it like that myself, just because people are more familiar with that. Called the diamond vehicle, also called mantrayana, also called tantrayana. Okay, so mantra, excuse me. Mantra is, I'm sure we're all familiar with mantra. The most common is Om Mani Padme Hum. Mantra literally means mind protection. Okay, so that's a story for another time. As we go into these details too much, we won't have any time. So also, just as an aside, everything I'm saying to you here this morning is, the Reader's Digest version. Okay, we can spend a long time on each of these things and explaining it in great detail, but this morning I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of these three vehicles, because it can be, it's good to know. Okay, so their goal is also Buddhahood. Okay, and the motivation, same as Mahayana, liberation of all sentient beings, and they have the Bodhisattva ideal. Excuse me. Pardon me. Okay, so the practices are like the other two vehicles: meditation, prayer, moral behavior, mindfulness, and so forth. But they have what's called Tantra. All right. So Tantra is another word that is very misunderstood in the West. It's usually associated with sex. You're tantric sex, and Sting is a tantric sex guy or whatever. It's ridiculous. So Tantra is really, okay, so it includes mantra recitation and visualization. But Tantra is a path that deals with the most subtle aspect of our being. Okay, so we have body, we have speech, we have mind, right? But there's this subtle system, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with in some sense, of the different chakras and channels and so forth. So through visualization, through other practices, we're really working with also that subtle system. Okay, and so I don't know if you guys know Robert Thurman. He is a Buddhist scholar. I don't know if he's still teaching there, but he was sort of head of Buddhist studies at Columbia University. And I like a lot of what he says. Some of what he says is a little bit suspect. He gets a little bit wild sometimes, but one thing he said about Tantra, in comparison to the other paths, is that if you think about a computer, okay, you have the hardware, you have the software, and you have the computer chip. Okay, so he said the Tantra practices are like working with the computer chip. Okay, so we're really going deep into the system, our own system, when we do study Tantra and do the tantric practices. Okay, So the countries in which Vajrayana is practiced or was practiced traditionally is India, Tibet, and again, the West. So in India, of course, that's where Buddhism started with the Buddha 2,500 years ago. But now it's largely died out in India, except for the Tibetan settlements, which formed when Tibetans had to flee the country because of Chinese torturing them and so forth. Okay, but otherwise, as a country, it's the first religion that is practiced. The most popular is Hinduism, and the second is Islam. Okay, and then actually so many other religions are practiced there. Christianity, Judaism, and other faiths are also practiced in India, but the vast majority is Hindu and Muslim. Okay, and then, like I said, the West. So the divisions, I have to find another word for that, are Nyingma, which is my particular school, Kagyu, Sakya, here I have Rime, and Gelug. Rime should actually come after Gelug, okay? So Nyingma means sort of, I think, ancient ones or something like that. It was kind of the first school of Tibetan Buddhism that grew and existed in Tibet. And then Kagyu, if you've ever heard of the Karmapa, that's from the Kagyu school. So why I put those separate is because Nyingma and Kagyu are very, very, very similar, okay? And a lot of masters, lamas, actually hold both lineages. But then you have Sakya. You might have heard of Sakya Pandita, or yes, which is the head of that school. Rime, I want to talk about Gelug first. So Gelug is, I think, is the newest school. It is the school that the Dalai Lama belongs to, but all the different schools consider the Dalai Lama like the head of the Vajrayana. Rime means non-sectarian. Okay, so this very interesting concept also as regards to Buddhism and the practice of it by human beings who like to argue and over-identify with something. So there was a time in Tibet, I think it was 1700s maybe, or maybe closer, like maybe late 1800s, something like that. Anyway, not that far back, where these different schools started to be quite aggressive with each other, which it makes me laugh because it's so ridiculous, But so they started to very much identify, I'm whatever, I'm Sakya, what are you, and argue. So some great masters saw that and saw how ridiculous it was and decided to kind of start this. I don't know if you can consider it a school or a movement or I don't know what, but anyway, it's a non-sectarian where they really emphasize the similarity between the different schools and foster respect in the different schools and try to, attain teachings and so forth from the different schools. Okay, so the actual difference between these different schools are very small. It's sort of terminology, lineage, so the different masters of the schools, and what you emphasize and maybe the order in which you do things. So it's quite, unimportant and kind of minute. But for example, in Nyingma and Kagyu, they mainly focus on practice, on meditation and like being yogis and things like that. It's sort of, living in caves, whatever. Okay, but mainly kind of the meditative aspect. And Gelug is more focused on study. Study is the most important thing. So again, it's just a difference of sort of emphasis. It's a difference of philosophy. So Nyingma and Kagyu, of course, also study. And Geluk, I'm not sure, I don't know that much about the Sakya school, quite frankly, so I should look into that. But anyway, Geluk also practices, of course, right? But their philosophy seems to be that, unless you study and you know, what you're aiming for, then how can you practice? Okay. And from the Nyingma perspective, it's like, unless you practice, like there's not much point to study. Okay. So they're both right, actually. It's just kind of what you prefer as a practitioner, what you think is kind of more important. One can go astray in either one of these schools or either one of these kind of emphasis. Because like if you just practice and you never study, okay, then it's kind of like, well, how are you supposed to know what to do? Just like the Gaelics say, like you have to practice, you have to study, all right? And Zonsar Khyentse Rinpoche says that, we study because we're not always going to like feel like practicing. We're not always going to be inspired to meditate, for example, right? If we only meditate when we are, feeling very blissed out and chill and all that, then, how often do you actually feel that way on a regular basis, right? So we need the kind of, or even like for moral behavior, right? Like we don't always want to be kind to others. We don't always want to think of them or try to be fair or, serve them in whatever way, right? And again, if we only do that when we feel like it, well, it's not much point, right? It's not really that impressive, okay? So what he says is that we also need the intellectual support, okay, to kind of know like why we are doing this. What is the result of the practice? Okay. So that even when we don't feel like it, for whatever reason, we still do it because we see intellectually the point. All right. And again, as an aside, this is something I personally really, really appreciate about Buddhism in general. All the three vehicles is that there's a tremendous respect for our intellect, that we're not supposed to. It's not just that like we're allowed to question, it's that we are supposed to question and examine and investigate for ourselves. Okay. So it's not like there's no real encouragement for blind faith. Just, oh, the Buddha said it, so it must be true. Oh, the Lama said it, so it must be true. No, you should examine for yourself. Okay, and that's a whole nother subject too, which I think I covered in one of these videos. I'll check it out and see. So like different types of faith, essentially, or I don't like the word faith. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I covered it. I really prefer the word confidence. Okay, but I don't want to go into that subject. Okay, so in fact, all of these Theravada, Zen, Pure Land, Nyingma, Kagyu, maybe Kagyu. Yeah, Kagyu, I think, and Geluk are all practiced in the Cleveland area. So if you're around here, and this is interesting for you, I really encourage you to, check it out, especially once this pandemic ends and you can go to these places in person, meet the people, do some practice with them, see if, where you are most comfortable, where you feel like that's your path. Okay. Like for example, like I said, I started out in the Theravada, but there were some things that kind of, I don't know, like I felt it wasn't enough somehow. And then I got introduced to the Gelugpa's path. And I just it just didn't take, I just didn't, I don't know, I didn't feel connected to it. I didn't feel like it was going to really help me. I don't know. It was very strange. But as soon as I met teachers in the Nyingma tradition, I just felt, oh, this is for me, and this is something I really connected with. I felt very at home. It was something that I felt made sense, and I just couldn't believe that I spent this time around the Gaelic school, and kind of didn't feel connected, and suddenly in the Nyingma school I felt really connected. So that might be for you. It might be the Theravada path that is inspiring for you, or Zen, or what have you. All right. So if you are interested in the Buddhist path, I really, really encourage you to check out all the different schools that we talked about this morning, and see how you feel. See if, where you feel most at home. Okay. All right. So now we are going to do some meditation. Okay. So the first meditation we're going to do is mindfulness of breathing, and then we'll do some Tonglen practice. We'll do about maybe, let's see, yeah, we'll do like maybe 10 minutes of mindfulness of breathing, and then the rest of the time, another 10 minutes of Tonglen practice, and then we'll close. Okay? All right. So what you want to do is take the posture. If you're in a chair, just put your feet flat on the floor. If you're sitting on the floor, then have your legs crossed in whatever way is comfortable for you. Your hand should be either palms down on your knees, palms up on top of each other, resting in your lap, or your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs touching like that, but in your lap. Okay. Back is straight, but relaxed. Okay, don't go like that. Just relax. Back of the neck is straight, chin is tucked in a little bit, arms relaxed, mouth is closed but relaxed, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth, breathing through the nose, eyes looking down like about halfway open, but looking down if you can. Okay, so let's do that. Take that posture. Then bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of your nose. So you want to focus kind of at the end of your nose. And just take a moment to feel that breath. So what we're going to do then is try to keep our awareness constantly, consistently on the sensation of the breath, and letting all the thoughts that are going to arise. So we're not trying to stop thinking, okay? So just let those thoughts come and go without engaging in them, keeping the mind, keeping your focus on the breath, allowing everything else to happen around you, whatever sounds, sensations, and so forth arise, just let them, okay? But you want to keep your focus on the breath, okay? So I am going to ring the gong to start and also to finish, okay? So now please begin to count the breaths, counting either every in-breath or every out-breath, up to a total of 10 breaths. If you lose count, totally normal. We get distracted. That's the point. And just come back. Okay, just come back to the breath and start again at 1. If you get to 10, start again at 1. If you go beyond 10, it's just another form of distraction. So as soon as you realize you're at 15 or whatever, just come back. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to just go 1 to 10 and start again at 1. So please begin that now. Check your posture. Body should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining the posture. Your mind should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining awareness of the breath. Okay. So now we're going to do a practice called Tonglen. If you're not familiar with it, Tonglen means giving and receiving. This practice is specifically for accessing and strengthening our innate compassion. So what this practice essentially is connecting with another human being and breathing in their suffering in the form of gray smoke and offering them our own happiness in the form of white light, and then sending that out, doing the same practice with all beings. Okay, I don't want to go too much into a lot of explanation here. You can see the other videos for that, but because we're running out of time. So let's just get into the practice, and I will guide you as we go along. Okay, so I'm as we've already done the mindfulness of breathing practice, we're already kind of hopefully pretty relaxed. So I'm going to ring the gong again. Please listen to the sound as long as you can hear it, and then just let your mind rest. So you're not trying to focus on anything or visualize anything. Just let your mind be, okay, in its natural state. So I'll ring the gong, listen to the sound, let your mind rest. Now imagine in your heart center, which is the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. Then consider that you're breathing in through all the pores of your body, gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. Now all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center, until there's not a single particle left of smoke. There's only light. Now breathe out this white light, which is cool, clean, clear, very bright, through all the pores of your body. Now imagine, picture someone that you love a great deal facing you. This person can be alive or they can have already passed. Okay. So picture them there. And then really go into your heart and don't just think about it, but really try to feel the love that you have for them, how precious they are to you, how much they mean to you, all the things they've done for you. What a wonderful person they are or were. And feel the love that they have for you also. Now consider the way or ways in which this person is suffering or did suffer. And again, don't just think about it, but try to really feel it. What is or was that experience for them? Maybe they have physical difficulties or sickness. Maybe they have mental or emotional difficulties like depression, anxiety, addiction, and so forth. Maybe they're having trouble with money or at work or with their families. Okay, whatever it is, try to feel it in yourself, right? Now consider that all of their suffering takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, and it leaves them and it comes to you. And without any hesitation, with so much love, you just breathe that in through all the pores of your body, and all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center. until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now, we're going to offer this person that you love all of your own happiness, your good fortune, your health, whatever it is that is good for you, that you feel is precious, along with anything at all that they may need to be happy, healthy, and so forth. And adding to that, the wish that they attain full and complete enlightenment in this very life. So all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. And you breathe that out through all the pores of your body. And this light goes to this person that you love so much. And when the rays of light touch them, all of their suffering just disappears. Okay? And you see them just suddenly look so relaxed, so relieved, peaceful, joyful, and you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we're going to do that very same thing with all sentient beings without exception. So first, we visualize all beings around us, okay? In front, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. Do CGI, just get them all in there. Then to the right, all of the beings you can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Behind, same thing, all the way to the horizon. And then to the left, again, all beings all the way to the horizon. Okay? So now you're surrounded by countless sentient beings as far as the eye can see. And the first thing we want to do is to consider our similarities to these beings. It might seem like, whoa, there's so many. How are we similar? Well, we all want to be happy, no doubt. We all want to be free from suffering, and we all suffer to one degree or another. Also, the Buddha taught that every single sentient beings in every single sentient being in one of our countless past lives has at one point or another been our kind and loving mother, so good to us, so giving, so loving. Okay. Even if we don't accept that, which is fine, we can at least consider how we're connected to all these beings, even if you don't accept past and future lives. In this very life, on this particular planet, we share those qualities, like I said, wanting to be happy, wanting to avoid suffering. Also, the fate of this planet, the water, the air, the earth, okay? We share various sufferings, old age, sickness, death, okay? And also there's countless sentient beings. Tuku Rinpoche really likes to discuss this, and I love hearing it because we don't think of it very often. Countless sentient beings who are directly responsible for our own health and well-being, without whom we couldn't even survive a single day. And you might think, what? I'm a rugged individualist. All right, but somebody grew your food, right? Someone built your home or your apartment. Someone made your clothing, and so forth and so on. It keeps the roads up, keeps the hospitals running, okay? So many things. Everything really that supports our own life is by the work and kindness of others. So even on that level, just generate that sense of appreciation for all sentient beings. And then just as before, we consider all their suffering, whatever it is, physical, mental, emotional. And their suffering takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them, it comes to you. The great deal of compassion and openness. You breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now, same as before, you offer all these beings your own happiness, your health, your wealth, whatever you have, your merit, and all of that. So you should really consider that you're giving it away. All of that takes the form of white light, cool in temperature, clean, clear, very bright, light in weight. And you breathe out this white light through every pore of your body, the light going in all directions as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. And you see them all looking so relaxed, so relieved and happy and joyful and peaceful. And you feel so happy to be able to do this for them. Okay. Now we let go of the visualization altogether. Gently bring the mind back to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose, being in the present moment, here and now. Okay, so now we are going to say these closing prayers. And something we do, if you're not into it, that's totally fine. You're not obliged to join us, of course. So first is the long life prayers, okay, for the Dalai Lama, and then Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche, Tulku Pema Wangye Rinpoche, and the teachers in general. So these we just do in Tibetan. And you can just read along in English also if you like. Okay. All right. Kanri wawe koe shinkan su pendande wa malu juwene chenre ziwon tenzing yam so yi shape ka ba chu tengyu shing swasti jigme rabjam se chin lap ki ken se tu ka dun se nu den cho sabsum ishi doje ta den chin tendrum and Beijing later she show. Swasti tse la kim searching love ten June lay. Runzin tak say your true pema wong. Sangsum na dre gyabo ta dene. Lap chen den de she chen tarke show. Lama kungan sampo soa deb chatu kuse rima soa deb. Chine dashinge ba soa deb. Lamadandre wa me pachingi lo. Okay, the second page, closing prayers. So this first prayer we're going to say in the upper left corner, we're going to say once in English, once in Tibetan. The rest we'll say just in English, and then we do this 100-syllable mantra of purification at the end. So I want to just explain this first prayer very briefly. If you look at that first line, merit is kind of good karma or whatever that we or whatever that we accrue through practicing, studying, and doing other virtuous activities. Omniscience in this case is a synonym for full enlightenment. The enemy here is wrongdoing. So that really refers to the law of cause and effect, otherwise known as karma, where our own negative actions really causes us a lot of suffering. Then birth, old age, sickness, and death are what were outlined by the Buddha as the four main streams of suffering in the human realm. Ocean of cyclic existence. So cyclic existence, also called samsara, is this round of birth and death that we have all been on since beginningless time. Ocean, because it's very vast and deep. May I free all beings. Again, bodhicitta, just like we started at the beginning. Okay, so let's do that once in English, once in Tibetan. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of psychic existence, may I free all beings. Sonam di tam che zipani, tom ne nye pe dranam pam che shing, ke gana chi balon chupaye, si pe tsole drowa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. All right, now we're going to do the mantra. Those of you who know it, you can say it 3 times at your own speed, but I'm going to say it very slow for those of you who may not be familiar with it, okay? Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishta Drito Me Bhawa Sutokayo Me Bhawa Supokayo Me Bhawa Anurakto Me Bhawa Sarvasiddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvatata Gata Vajrama Me Munsa Vajri Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Okay, so now we have a few minutes for question and answer. If you have any questions, hi Angelina. If you have any questions, then put them in the chat. But please know that you need to be a little quick about it because I'm not going to wait very long, okay? So wait a minute here. Okay, I don't see any questions. So, okay, so thank you so much for joining me here this morning. I will be here, as I said, the first 3 or 4, if there's 5 Sundays in a month, then like there was, I think, last month, or yeah, then I'm here for the first 4. But the last Sunday of the month is family meditation. Please have a look at the links below, okay? If you're interested in what we do, and as I said, everything's online now, so you don't have to be local, right? Then please sign up for the newsletter. Okay, there's a link below for that. There's a link for our site. There's also a link for donations. We understand, of course, that it's a difficult time financially for many people, but any kind of donation that you can offer is so appreciated, and it really allows us to continue, okay? Even though we're not at our physical center right now, we still have to pay the rent, right? And the utilities. So it really gets quite expensive. So if you can, please donate as much as you can by following the link below. Okay, so thank you again for joining us. I'm so happy that you can be part of this, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.